Hi everyone, I'm Rita Kakati-Shah, your host for the Uma Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We're a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring your inner belief through fashion. And I'm so excited to be joined by our goddess of go-getting, Savita Gilbert, who is joining us from Washington, D.C. And she's the CEO and the chief designer at Inner Belief. Welcome, Savita. How are you today?
Oh my gosh. Hi, Rita. And thank you to the Uma Show. And how are you doing? And I'm honored to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So let's start by talking about your heritage, your childhood. We all want to hear about how you grew up and a bit about you.
Yes. So I'm originally from Bangalore, India. I was born in New Delhi, but I grew up for the most part in Bangalore. That's my background. And I was, made to live with my grandmother from the age of 11. And so I stayed in Bangalore while my parents were moving all over the country. And so my artistic journey kind of really began there. But that's a little bit about my background.
Love it. Very nice. And then speaking about your background, you're actually an attorney by profession. Talk to us a bit about your career path.
Yes, so I actually attended the National Law School of India in Bangalore and began my journey as an attorney there. I worked at the Supreme Court at New Delhi when I graduated from law school for a couple of years before I made my way as an immigrant to the US to do a master's program. But my entire journey during this time was also, there was an artistic background to it. But I did. I began my career there in India as a court-going attorney.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you actually, because obviously education plays a big part of a lot of South Asian backgrounds, as you and I both know. How did you end up pursuing the path of law in the first place?
I may have to backtrack a little bit to your first two questions because they tie in. The artistic journey comes from there. When I had to leave my parents and live with my grandparents, and while everybody was very loving in our house, just me and the personality I suffered a lot of anxiety because I was 11 to leave my mother in particular. And I started developing asthma and, that sort of thing. So actually, when I started doing watercolors, I found that power of art to heal. And when I went to college, which was also in Bangalore, I found joy in just doing fun things like making clothes for my classmates who were my buddies. And they just loved it. It sparked so much joy in our relationship. Actually, a couple of my college friends contacted me recently and said they still have that outfit. I was blown away, and so, the artistic journey began there. However, when I went to, work at New Delhi and with the Supreme Court routines, I had to completely put art aside. But I'm grateful for the experience as an attorney because it really made me develop the kind of discipline and skills that are essential to succeed in life, which I think had I just been on an artistic journey, I may not have developed those skills. I might have just been on some sort of a artistic journey purely for what it is. But those skills of building a business, of, working as an attorney, of meeting deadlines came from that. And I'm very grateful for that experience.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, because quite a lot of the time we kind of, especially with academia, we think of things like you go into law because that's your traditional background, and that's really how it started. But for you, it was actually you have always had that creative background, and then you went into the legal profession and you actually found it helped what you do now. So thank you for sharing that. Now, you did mention tinkering with making clothes even in your youth. Talk to us a little bit about Inner Belief and where the idea of your entrepreneurial journey first started.
So again, to continue the story from where I left off of going to work as an attorney, the reason I actually went to become an attorney was not because I don't love law. I love the practice of law. But there wasn't a path when I grew up as an artist that was a career path that was viable. And so I think we were either pushed into engineering, law. That's what the culture was at the time. So I chose law because that was the most creative thing close to art that I found. But I also love law. I love language, so it all kind of tied in. But coming to the US, fast forward, I wanted to explore more internationally. I wanted to have a broader kind of stage than just going to court. I wanted to explore more about what possibilities were. I came to the United States as a student, graduated, worked as an attorney for some time, but I found that as I was working, especially when I came to Washington, D.C., fast forward, maybe several years later, as an executive at a legal executive at a company, I realized that there were no viable in Washington, D.C. in particular. I didn't see that there were clothes that resonated other than just wearing something that was a dark suit. If you wanted to go to a boardroom or if you wanted to go, wear something colorful, there wasn't that much of a venue for it. So I found that limitation is what I had to really change if I wanted to be the change. And so I decided to create, this line of clothing. It was an idea in my mind, but I think what really, so there was this background of all these things that I discovered that I felt limited by. But the trigger point was really the pandemic, because I connected two things. I felt like, just as I found art lifted my spirits when I was a kid with asthma, I was like, this is exactly what needs to lift people's spirits, and the time is now. And then I also saw the limitations of, what women could wear at these professional venues, or book signings, or TED Talks, or just things like that, true to, where we are here, and felt like the timing is right for this. We have to do this. So we are, Inner Belief really was creating during the pandemic. And also the idea is that we're able to offer beautiful clothing, nature-inspired clothing to influencer women. So that's really how all of this morphed into this journey, if you will. Yeah.
Well, I love saying that. I love how you talk about how you inspire others with your beautiful designs. And just to let you know, I'm wearing one of your beautiful designs today, and I feel so inspired because of this. So absolutely everything you said, 100%, I can vouch for that. It's beautiful, inspiring, and it's just a great field of factor as well. And then your designs have actually been featured in many fashion shows. So tell us a bit about that.
Okay, first of all, thank you for wearing this dress. You rock it. You look smashing. I'm very honored. About fashion shows, Inner Belief has, a two-prong approach. One is we are a designer brand, and fashion shows are important because they are a venue for us to showcase our clothing with, as a designer brand. So fashion shows are quintessentially very important to us. So I want to talk about two shows. One, of course, that we did in November. This was our own private show, and this was an influencer woman show where we had many, amazing women talk about their inner belief, so to speak, wearing this clothing, and it inspired their own journey. And that was something, is very tied into our mission, because our company mission is really about inspiring people to be their best, to do their best. And so, any show that we do is really in line with that, because we want our clothing to reflect this and inspire the wearer, inspire those around, and also what was amazing about this show was the women who showcased the clothing and talked about what they do wearing that clothing were able to really talk about how that inner light of humanity and hope to create a better future shone in how they presented themselves, not only in what they said, but also in what they were wearing. So that shows something that was a mentionable in November. More recently, we were at DC Fashion Week, and this was just in February this year, and DC Fashion Week. I really am so appreciative and honored that Ian Williams, the executive director of DC Fashion Week, had us also part of the Emerging Designer Show, and it was an amazing show with among many other amazing designers, and we were able to show our nature-inspired theme, and our theme really was roses and skies, because we wanted to celebrate. Roses are very significant to Washington, D.C. It's actually the American Beauty rose is the official flower of D.C. And skies, because the skies of D.C. are iconic. We have a mixture of the air from the bay, the Chesapeake Bay, and the Shenandoah Mountains. The pressure difference creates very colorful skies, and we have all these monuments, in that backdrop. So I wanted some of these colors, and I captured them in ombre kind of patterns, and had roses in several others, and even like roses are part of your outfit, So that is something we wanted to instill a pride in DC. So that's what we brought to DC Fashion Week. Yeah. So that's that's sort of like what happened at the past 2 fashion shows we've had.
Absolutely beautiful. And I've seen the publicity around that. You've had a lot, and the designs are really out there and really influential. People, like you said, are talking about them, and they're great. So thank you again for sharing that, and all the best of luck to your future progress with all of that. So people always say that, where there's success, it started off as being a part of a challenge at some point in your life, and challenges are part and parcel of life, but it's really how we deal with them that strengthens and sets us apart. So could you talk to us about either a personal or professional challenge that you had, but what you did to overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge, and part of the reason why I call this line Inner Belief, and this company Inner Belief, is because it is exactly that. And that was the challenge, and it was also the solution. I really believe we are the challenge and we are also the solution, that's my inner belief, And so your question is so on point, because my biggest challenge for creating this was the courage to be an artist, and overcoming that. The rest of it are regular challenges that I think all entrepreneurs face. But the biggest challenge was my inner belief and belief in myself. Can I do this? What was greater? Was it the fear of failing that was greater? Or was it the determination to really create something extraordinary for people that took priority? And I think at every moment, we all face this challenge, fear of failing, or is my determination to win more important than my fear of failing? Because I believe that self-doubt is there with all of us. And I think my self-doubt came in ways of, oh, I'm an attorney, and who's going to take me seriously as an attorney if I'm an artist? Or because I grew up in a place and time, it's different now. But the time I grew up in India, it was, if you want in a professional, kind of program and profession, artists was something you did for a hobby. It wasn't a main dish. So that mindset had to also transform. But it was really my courage to challenge that and say, no, I think we can be artists. I think we can have an artistic profession and be successful at it. We don't have to believe what is just purely given to us. And do I have the courage to believe that and actually do it? So to me, this was the challenge. But it was also the motivation, because I think my legal training inspired me and gave me the tools to challenge what is difficult. Because being, an attorney is not for the faint of heart, and so I think that skill was very transferable into what I'm doing, because I wasn't going to sit and feel fearful of doing what I was going to do, because I knew that the mission of what I could create and how much I could inspire others was more important than my fear. And so courage came from that place.
I love how you share that, because you're so right, Savita. In life in particular, failure is a fear, and that is not celebrated. It's sort of shunned upon. It's, you know, it's something to be scared about rather than embraced. As an entrepreneur yourself, as an entrepreneur myself, everyone out there, you have to embrace failure. It has to be part of who you are. It's like, you don't like the word failure and being told no, you're not going to succeed far. So it's almost things like that. How would you convert that into just embracing it and feeling and being part of yourself? And that's exactly what you're doing with Inner Belief. Thanks so much for sharing that. Now, switching gear a little bit, what do you like to do for fun?
You know, I am doing what I'm doing for fun. You know, actually what I was doing for fun, I'm now doing, you know, just completely. I've never been the one that talked about a side gig or a hobby. I've never been a hobbyist. And I believe that if you call something a side gig, it's never going to be the main thing in your life. So one of the things I've always been inspired by is this Japanese word for mission, which breaks down into the characters she and May, you know, and she and May put together say, live your life, you know, and so living your life is your mission. And living your mission is what brings joy. And part of what I'm doing for fun is living my life. And so whatever I do to live my life has to be fun, because there's no time for much else. I think the pandemic has taught us that, you know, so this is something I pondered over and a lot, and which is why I love art, culture of every kind. We have so much to learn and put it into something meaningful. So what I do for fun is what I'm doing every day. I love creating. And so I think for me, if I were to talk about what's a hobby, I think my hobby is to be creative. And then I take it into whatever I'm doing and make sure that everything I'm doing is fueled by that. So yeah, I would say that it's a quality rather than a certain thing. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Before we let you go, what advice would you give to any young girls or women out there who would like to follow in your footsteps?
Oh, I would say something unequivocally. Please live your life, not someone else's. Never be ashamed of anything you are, because actually what you might think you're ashamed of might be what inspires others. And never live somebody else's life. Live yours and live true to yourself, and think big. Think big. Yeah.
I love it. Live your life and think big. Amazing.
So there's one more thing that I have to say, in addition to, you know, this advice for younger people. I want to say something about your amazing book, Rita, because I read this cover to cover. And I really recommend this to anyone who's looking for something new and inspirational to read. And I want to really share that, you know, even when it talks about your guide to confidence, leadership, and workplace success, you know, and the piece where I feel, you know, even Inner Belief dovetails with this is, you know, the goddess of go-getting is really a woman, in a sense, who is living true to her inner belief and is able to find success and, you know, through, you know, being confident of who you are, not what someone else is. And this book resonated with me on so many levels. And while it talks about diversity, it talks about all of these beautiful things, this concept of empowerment and of confidence and what you bring in what you do and how you live your mission is very much a part of this book, as much as it is about inner belief. And I wanted to say I found so much commonality there, and I really loved your book.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing that. So, and thank you for sharing your incredible story with us today. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on this empowerment journey. We want you all to embrace your inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.